March 7th, Saturday, 2026. Buddha Dhamma, chapter 17.11. The Bhikkhu, or the monk's code of discipline, and its relationship to the outer society as a whole. On the top of page 1669 to page 1675, Buddha Dhamma, compiled by Somdet Prat Bhutta Gosa Charya, English name P.A. Payutto. 17.11, the Bhikkhu Code of Discipline and the Relationship to Society. What has been mentioned above refers primarily to the ethics as it's concerned with the lay community. However, for the community of monks, the Bhikkhu Sangha, the system of moral training can be laid down in much more explicit way because Gautama Buddha established this community himself according to the predetermined principles and objectives. To cite the example here is to support a practice that is most conducive for reaching the highest goal of Buddhism and to spread the goodness that results from this practice far and wide for the welfare and happiness of all inhabitants of the world. Gautama Buddha formulated a system of rules and regulations to help guide the life and behavior of the bhikkhus, the monks, in order to give rise to positive results according to these principles and objectives. The members of this community, the Bhikkhu Sangha, those individuals who are ordained as monks, that took higher ordination, enter voluntarily, and thus they all accept to practice according to these rules. This moral code is called the Vinaya of the Bhikkhu Sangha. The Vinaya is composed of numerous training rules, including rules on how monks should behave while alone, how they should behave amongst each other, how they should behave in relationship to other people, the lay community, how they should behave in relation to the nature and their environment, how they should govern their community and conduct communal affairs. A similar code of discipline was laid down for the nuns, the bhikkhunis. This is called the Bhikkhunis Vinaya. Those candidates who, for some reason, are not fully prepared for higher ordination may be accepted as novices, having limited status and privileges in the monastic community. Gautama Buddha laid down 10 training rules for the novices, which are included in the Vinaya. Virtuous conduct, sila, in this context, is the state of well-being or the wholesome behavior that stems from non-transgressing the training rules contained in the Vinaya. This is morality, sila, on the level of formal discipline, the Vinaya. There are two aspects to keeping moral precepts or to practicing according to moral principles: self-discipline in order to develop the virtuous qualities and the considerations of benefits to others or to society. The former aspect is obvious throughout Gautama Buddha's dispensation, the sutras, while in the latter aspects is strongly emphasized in the monk's discipline, in the Vinaya. The relationship to society, in the case that the monks' actions were unskillful and warranted the enactment of a training rule, Gautama Buddha would call the community of monks together, verify the truth from the instigator, and explain the harm of such action. It does not generate faith in the faithless, nor does it increase faith in the faithful, but rather it prevents faith from arising in those without faith and shakes the confidence of some of the faithful. Only then did they lay down the new training rule and describe its advantages. The concern here over people's faith is a concern for the well-being and happiness of the greater public. The well-being of society affects the well-being of both monatistic community and Buddhism as a whole, because the stability of the monatistic community, the Bhikkhu Sangha, and the Buddhist religion is dependent on the faith of the laity. The faith of lay Buddhists stems from passaddha, meaning confidence, inspiration, joy, ease of heart, and the delight and enthusiasm for goodness. This quality is conducive to happiness, supports concentration, and is favorable to wisdom, providing people with the necessary strength of heart to understand a subject under investigation. The joy and confidence is the fundamental source of well-being, enabling people to progress in mental and wisdom development. Before offering a teaching for the Four Noble Truths, Gautama Buddha would generally prepare the listener's state of mind and the degree understanding until the person's mind was at ease, malleable, free from hindrances, delighted, and bright. A monk, a bhikkhu, should behave virtuously, not to seek personal gain from the resultant devotion of the lay supporters, which would be reprehensible, but rather for the well-being and happiness for the monastic community, the Bhikkhu Sangha, as well as the wider lay community. However, unawakened monks must practice both aspects of moral behavior. Unawakened monks, meaning they have not attained arihatship. Combining assistance to others and self-discipline and self-training. Arihats, on the other hand, who are awakened monks, who are completely free from all mental defilement and whose personal moral duties are thoroughly accomplished. They keep moral principles or abide by a moral code purely for the well-being of the monastic community and all human beings. This is consistent with the vital principle, vice versa, the conduct and activity of Gautama Buddha and his disciples. To practice for the welfare and happiness of the many folk, and for the compassion for the world, for the benefit, welfare, and happiness of the gods and humans, as well as the principle of being considerate of latter generations for setting good example, and then promoting goodness in the world by honoring the Dhamma and the Vinaya. For this reason, awakened persons observe moral precepts strictly. It is not in their nature to claim that they are free from defilement, carefree and detached, and therefore do not need to keep particular training rules and can act in any manner they please. Arihats, awakened monks, do not keep moral precepts, but some also uphold numerous observances associated with specific aesthetic practices, which are not required by the Vinaya, in order to abide happy in the present and to assist latter generations by acting as a good example. When one investigates the mental fetters of adherence to the rules and religious practices, sila bhatta paramasa, one should not overlook a person's reasons and intentions that are connected to virtue and for benefiting the community. If a person observes moral precepts, duties, customs, and traditional ceremonies with the understanding of the intention of acting in a well-mannered and exemplary fashion, this action helps unite the community and alleviates the Dhamma, or it elevates the Dhamma. If a person acts appropriate to the circumstances in accord with good intentions, and not in a disingenuous way, one should not be in a hurry to criticize his behavior. Where the behavior is in regard to the rules, observance, customs, ceremonies, and moral codes is incorrect, it's by holding them to a gullible way, simply imitating others without recognizing their purpose. to the point that one mistakenly believes that purity for the final spiritual goal is reached by simply keeping precepts or observing customs and tradition. Such behavior leads to a distortion of these precepts and practices, deviate them from Buddhist paths. Similarly, people may uphold moral precepts and religious practices with concealed craving and fixed views, by seeking a reward of material gain, fame, praise, delight, or rebirth in heaven, and by reinforcing a sense of self-identity until the true purpose of moral conduct is obscured, and the way to reaching the goal of the Dhamma practice is obscured, or people may keep moral precepts and follow various observances, customs, and ceremonies in an unworthy, corrupt way. They can get carried away and overly impressed by their own good deeds, which become a source of pride and conceit. A person who keeps moral codes, precepts, and follows the Vinaya, the discipline, should understand the objectives, the intended benefits of the discipline, the Vinaya, which Gautama Buddha stated each time that he had laid down a training rule. There are 10 such benefits. 1711a, pertaining to communal well-being. For the goodness that comes from harmonious Sangha, the community. For the well-being of the Sangha, for the well-being of the community. For the control of shameless individuals. 17.11b, pertaining to the individual well-being. For the comfort of virtuous bhikkhus, or virtuous monks. 17.11c, pertaining to the growth in the law of Dhamma, the law of causality, for the prevention of danger and the trouble in the present, and for the prevention of danger and trouble in the future. 17.11d, pertaining to social well-being, to rouse faith, sattha, in those who lack faith, to increase sattha in the faithful. 17.11e, pertaining to the well-being of the Buddha's dispensation, the Buddha's teaching, or Buddhism, for the stability of the true Dhamma, to promote discipline and to support the discipline, the Vinaya. In the Anguttara Nikaya, it contains another list of objectives for the establishment of the training rules, which includes the following 2 factors. The first factor is for the benefit of the lay followers. The second factor is to sever relations with those factions of monks who are evilly disposed. These objectives reveals an emphasis on communal welfare and happiness. Similarly, the rules in the Vinaya dealing with the implementation of formal acts of community for the Bhikkhu Sangha Kamma attest to the importance given to the community affairs by focusing on the cooperation and concerted efforts of the monks. Formal acts of the Sangha only proceed well. However, if the community is in harmony and is undivided, this is a principal reason why Gautama Buddha reiterated the significance of the Sangha harmony as opposed to the Sangha discord, by stating that the arising of harmony in the Sangha is conducive to the welfare and happiness of all people, whereas schism in the Sangha have the opposite effect. The various rules and regulations laid down by Gautama Buddha in the Vinaya, the discipline, expresses a spirit of communal well-being and a dignity which is applicable to all human relationships, an example of which is the common practice of monks paying respects to another monk. We're going to leave off there at the end of 17.11 on the top of page 1675. We will pick up on 17.12, means for extolling the Dhamma and enhancing communal welfare. Buddha Dhamma